Hey everyone, it's Ten Types, and today I think we should talk about what makes cards good and bad. Obviously, you can look at the metagame, look online, and kind of get a good idea of what's good. That being said, if you just rely on this, then you'll end up missing things, and this does happen. There are people who, a lot of people, certainly myself included, look at, online tournament results and decks and things like that, and then are like, oh yeah, this is good and this is bad and whatever. And that is useful. However, it's important to be able to look at a card and say if it's good or bad. And obviously, if you look at a card, you look at its stats, and that's what determines whether it's good or bad. Its stats, including its like attacks and abilities, and everything on the card. But obviously, not everything is equal. So today, I'm going to talk about how some people often, specifically new players, end up misunderstanding what makes cards good and bad. Obviously, this doesn't apply to everyone, and everyone's at a different place in their Pokemon journey, and it is something that is worth learning on your own. But there are definitely some people who may end up missing it as well at times. And quite simply, it's the cost of a card versus the reward. A card that is good needs to have two things, or it needs one thing and it can't have another thing. It needs some benefit to playing it. This is generally pretty obvious. So, for example, this Mamoswine EX here has 340 HP. This is the highest HP in the game for a 2-prizer, and ever for a 2-prizer, so that's good. And it also has an ability letting you search for a Pokemon every turn, which is certainly nice. And then you have the attack here for it is 2 fighting, and you 180, 40 more for each of your bench stage 2 Pokemon. So this can do potentially a one-shot. It's in between a 2-shot and a one-shot on most Pokemon, and it's very tanky. So those things are very good. But then you look at the bad things, and you look at the stage. It's a stage 2. It is a 2-prizer. That's not as bad as a 3-prizer, but it is worse than the 1-prizer. It has 4 retreat. It has weakness to grass, and you could like say like, oh, it has no resistance, or oh, it has an ability, so it could be like walled by Ogerpon or something. And of course, the attack here needs stage 2 Pokemon on your bench. So you need to kind of weigh the pros and cons. And there's two main things that make a card bad, or maybe three. And these are going to be the stage, the amount of prize it gives up, and the energy cost. And these things are very important. Specifically, if you compare two cards and the one is a basic and the one's a stage 2, even if the stage 2 is a little bit better, the basic realistically is going to be a lot more powerful. We can look at the standard format right now, and we see Badoo. Badoo is a very powerful card. You can also look at the standard format, and um, you can see Venomoth. Venomoth is a little different. Oh, that searches all the Venusaurs too. The Venomoth here on a stage 1 does 30 confusion and item locks your opponent. Badoo just item locks your opponent does 10. It is free, I will say. This isn't the perfect comparison, but you could look at Frillish as well, which is also going to be a card that's going to be better than Venomoth. And Venomoth is essentially objectively stronger, right? Except obviously it's an evolution. And so realistically, even though Frillish or Badoo are a little weaker than Venomoth in terms of what they do, they're basic. So it's like way better. And it kind of depends on what the effect is. An effect like this on a basic, which you want to use turn 1 going second, realistically most of the time it's going to be a lot better on a basic than an evolution. You can Venomoth turn 1 if you didn't know, using something like Salvatore. I wonder if it's in these lists. I'm not super confident on it. Yeah, it's not in this list here, for example. This list here plays Badoo to, kind of buy some time, but there's Salvatore supporter, but that's going to take your supporter for the turn, right? So if you need to use a supporter for the turn to set something up or to help you set it up, that's going to be another cost. And, normally the supporter is going to be used to draw you cards or disrupt your opponent or some combination of those. And you're losing that. That's the cost of it, is not being able to do that other thing. Same thing with energies. Venomoth is an energy, Badoo, or requires an energy to attack. Badoo doesn't. This means that Badoo doesn't take your energy for the turn, meaning that you can retreat into it by attaching to the active. You can set up another Pokemon. You can do different things by saving the energy and putting it somewhere else. Instead of spending that cost on Badoo, you can spend it somewhere else, which is very important. Overall, these low commitment Pokemon like Badoo are generally very good. And if you look at a lot of the top Pokemon in the game right now, for example, if we look at Dragapult, this isn't, I mean, it's an alright example. Certainly, you see stuff like Badoo, Blood Marceluna EX, Latias EX, Pheasantipity EX. You could also toss Hawlucha in there, I guess, but Hawlucha's like kind of awkward to use, to be honest. It's not like super awkward, and it is a good card, but you need to kind of draw into it or get off of Ultra Ball. You can't Nest Ball or Buddy Poffin for it to actually work. But those other cards there, though, the ones I mentioned. Also, sorry, I am still a little sick. Not it's not like that bad, but my voice is a little under the weather, so sorry about that. But those other cards, I guess, kind of with the exception of Blood Moon Luna EX, are very low commitment, essentially zero energy Pokemon that provide pretty immediate benefits there. Obviously, they are somewhat situational. Giving free retreat to Pokemon isn't always super good. There are times when it doesn't matter, right? You're not going to retreat, so it doesn't matter. However, if you are needing it, it's easy to find and powerful, or relatively powerful, even if it's not as powerful as, say, the card we'll talk about a bit more later, Mega Dragon EX, giving you a switch every turn. Getting a switch every turn is essentially objectively stronger than Latias EX's ability, but it is on a stage 2, 3 pricer, so that's going to be a lot worse and a lot less versatile there, requiring a lot more resources to set it up. Then you look at other cards in the game, for example, Munkidori. Munkidori is where I see people make this mistake most often. Munkidori is a powerful card with this ability, letting you move 3 damage counters from one of your opponent's Pokemon from one of your Pokemon to one of your opponent's Pokemon. This can provide healing. It will provide healing if you use its ability. It can provide damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon, which is very useful. And those things are both useful. You can't damage without healing, but you can't damage without damage counters on your board, so it's better with decks that put damage counters on your own board, like Gardevoir EX or Mario's Grimmsnarl EX, specifically with Frostlass there. But even without that, your opponent might be hitting into you and like two-shotting you. You see Dragapult EX being a deck where Munkidori is pretty useful against it. That being said, you do need an energy attached to it. This is not free. I've heard people say this is free. Actually made a whole video on this, Badoo, and a handful of other cards. Actually, there's a Dragonair, which we're not really going to talk about in this video. There's also Shuckle, which is like a essentially so worse Munkidori, though it does see some play in control to actually kind of counter Munkidori. But anyways, you see that this card is not free. It's literally like one of the only abilities in the game that is not free in terms of energy. There are some other abilities with some form of cost, like Enzark EX requiring you to discard a card from your hand to use this ability, which is a cost, but it's something that you can use without committing resources really to it. Certainly, you don't need to commit resources. I mean, I guess you could use that card for other things. It would be better for just two cards. But Munkidori is an attachment really for the turn. Theoretically, you could accelerate to it. Mega Absol could accelerate to it with TM Turbo Energize, but that's not super good. It's okay, but actually I don't know. It's pretty not okay, to be honest. Then you have Crustle, which I guess could also accelerate to it with Crispin or TM Turbo Energize. Oh, that's not on this list, but wait, is it not? No, it's not. But ultimately, you have ways to kind of accelerate to it, but in the decks it's played most in, you have Gardevoir EX where you can't accelerate to it. That being said, you accelerate to other Pokemon, so that opens up the space for Munkidori. Munkidori has this higher cost, so you need to make up for it by some other cards you pay that cost in some other way, where Gardevoir EX is paying it to your Pokemon that are attacking, and then you can use your manual attachment for a turn on Munkidori there. But again, Munkidori in most situations, in most random decks, it's going to have a cost, and that cost is somewhat difficult to pay. It's not unpayable, but then you look at the other aspect of what you need to do to actually use it. You also need damage counters on your board. That's kind of a cost there. And then the upside is a bit of extra damage and healing, which is nice. It's not absurd, but it is definitely quite nice there. But again, it does have a cost, but it's still a basic, so it's relatively techable. It doesn't need a darkness, so you kind of need to find if you can put darkness energies into the list as well. Another cost here will be the fact of needing to put Dark Percentage into your list. Munkidori, well, it is a Psychic Pokemon. Obviously, it doesn't use Psychic Energies for its ability, which is what you want with Gardevoir EX, so you are, making a sacrifice there. If you had 10 Psychic Energies, you'd be able to use Psychic Embrace more easily throughout the course of the game and maybe attack with other Pokemon. Mario's Grimmsnarl EX, there's not really that cost there, though. That's what makes Mario's Grimmsnarl EX so good, to be honest, is the fact that it uses Darkness Energy. It's not sacrificing energy counts within its deck to be able to attack with Monkey, or to use the ability on Munkidori. You look at a deck like Dragapult, you're kind of making a sacrifice playing Luminous, but Luminous is already decent in the deck, so you're kind of in a weird middle ground there. But then we look at some other cards here. For example, we look at some Mega Stage 2 EXs, and these are cards where I've gotten for all three of these. Okay, Mega Charizard X EX, I'll talk about first. This card is out. This card I've heard people say was going to be very good. It's been okay. It's certainly not a terrible card. Okay, it's not been out that long. Its results look terrible. They aren't super good though, right? This card, if you're not familiar, It is, of course, Charizard, so it evolves from the Charizard line or from Charmeleon, and it has an attack that lets you discard any amount of fire energy from your Pokemon. You do 90 for each card you discard in this way. This can do huge damage and can tech relatively easily into a Charizard deck. And if you look at Charizard EX struggles to do big damage in the early game. This can do big damage in the early game. That seems really good. However, then you look into it and you're like, oh, it's a stage 2, it's a 3 prizer, and it also needs a bunch of energy and loses a bunch of energy. It's not like it just needs it, but it needs it and then ditches it. So then you're like, okay, well, you could put an Oricorio EX, but that only works with Mega Charizard XCX, which is like, okay, I guess, but it's kind of niche there. And then you're like, oh, well, I'll just use Charizard EX's ability to power it up. And you can do that, but then you lose all the energy on your board. So realistically, you need another Charizard EX to set up your board beyond that, especially if you're looking to take big one-shots, discarding realistically 4 energy there. That would be Charizard EX plus the attachment for turn. So you're not like freeing up your attachment to return with Charizard EX. So really, you like kind of are, but you're not having excess attachments for a turn, if that makes sense. You're getting, if the turn you want to use the Mega Charizard, you're using Charizard EX's ability plus attaching. That's 4. That's all the energy for the turn. Then you're back to where you started with if you didn't take that turn there. So ultimately, that's kind of clunky. It's taking a lot of evolution lines, which against the evolution thing, it's the energy cost thing. Those are the biggest things. This is a card though that it's okay, right? It's a fine card. It's not like super good, but it's kind of whatever. But then I've heard Mega Meganium EX here. Also, like, I don't know, do people like this card's name or the Pokemon's name, Mega Meganium? Do they think it's like stupid, like bad stupid, fun stupid? I think it's fun stupid. But I mean, it is just what it is as well. It is Mega Meganium. But anyways, here for 3 colorless energy, you do 70, 50 more for each grass energy attached to this Pokemon. I've gotten a bunch of comments saying this card is so good, requiring I mean, I think someone said it requires with 2 cards you can be swinging for 100, or no, was it 350 damage or whatever, or no, 370, which is not right? I mean, you need the 3 energies, and you also need the previous evolutions, and you need the Meganium line, the other Meganium as well, the single prizer. And yes, Meganium plus Mega Meganium EX does do a ton of damage, but you also need them in play. So again, you need the previous evolutions. You also need a bunch of energies. I'm actually not sure how people are going to play this deck. I'm pretty excited to find out. I've seen a handful of lists so far, and some are running Energy Switch, and some are running they tech it into Mega Venusaur EX. Teching into Mega Venusaur EX adds a whole another evolution line, which is kind of clunky, but without it, you need to use Energy Switch, and that's only like a one-time thing, and a little less versatile there. So I'm interested in hearing people's thoughts in the comments. But Mega Venusaur EX is certainly not super good. It's okay. And I've heard a lot of comments of people really overrating Stage 2 EXs, and specifically Stage 2 Megas, because it does give up a 3rd prize as well. Giving up a 3rd prize is bad. I mean, technically there can be value from giving up more prizes. We see that, in the metagame with Dragapult, with Dusknoir. That can be a useful tool for like Countercatcher or Iono or something. But I mean, Dragapult's already so good that giving up the extra prize, I mean, you can generally pull ahead in situations, or you can kind of manipulate things if you're in an awkward spot. But I mean, Dusknoir would be a lot better if it didn't give up a prize, right? It's very good, but it would be absurdly broken if it didn't give one up. Again, it can be useful in some situations, but for the most part, it's bad there. So giving up the extra prize is bad. Then you could talk about prize mapping and how things can get. It could not matter and be, even better giving up that extra prize if you're doing a bunch of other 2 prizers. But on top of that, you're also running single prizers, so I don't even think that like matters. But you could debate that. But generally, giving up more prizes is bad. And you're also like not that much tankier. I think sometimes some people overrate HP. I've heard people say cards are broken because they have high HP. I mean, that like could be the case, I guess. If a card had 5 million HP, it would be broken. Like you couldn't ever knock it out, essentially, unless you use some like weird effect, right? So that would be broken. But like Mega Venusaur does not have 5 million HP. It has 380. 380 is the highest ever. It is 20. Wait, no. It is 10 or 20 higher than the next Pokemon. I believe there's 370 HP. Wait, does Mega Dragonite have 370? Yeah, it does. So there will be 370 HP Pokemon, but you look at the highest 2 prizer, the highest card before this came out was 340, right? So, well, Mega Guard was revealed, but anyways, it's higher than anything we've ever seen before. So it looks powerful, but like 40 more HP doesn't matter that much. It's nice, certainly. I mean, you look at Bravery Charm. Bravery Charm's a good card, but I mean, if your attack and our ability are kind of meh, then having the extra HP like doesn't it's not really gonna save you, right? I can't think of a singular good Pokemon in the metagame that's good because of its HP. Maybe I'm blanking on something, but like a Pokemon that has like well above the HP that it kind of is supposed to is going to be Blood Luna EX. Blood Luna EX is a very good card, right? It is a very good card, but it's not good because of its HP. Its HP helps it, but it's good because of its ability and attack combination there. And then its retreat cost holds it back. And I think the third thing, or the thing that matters behind all of those factors, is its HP. Yes, if it had 160 like Squawkville EX, it would be worse, but I mean, I think it would still be honestly okay if it had 160 HP, because generally looking to win the game with it, so it doesn't even matter, right? And you're looking to take big one shots with a lot of Pokemon in the metagame. There are some Pokemon in the metagame. I mean, like Goldengo. It does matter some. Like Goldengo needs to exert more resources to take the knockouts, but again, you're not resorting or exerting that many more resources to do 40 more damage, right? It could throw things off, but HP doesn't matter too much. And again, Mega Venusaur has not very good ability. You can kind of I say this is about the same power level as Armarouge. The ability on a stage 1 single prizer in standard, which is objectively weaker than previous versions, or essentially objectively weaker than previous versions we've seen in the past, like Bronzong from Battle Styles, which is the same thing, but it let you move the energy anywhere. Also, it's objectively better than Mega Venusaur EX, ignoring the type there. They are different types, because it also lets you move special energy, which is like a huge deal, like we see with Armarouge, letting you move like Prism and Luminous energy, which is cool there. So ultimately, the ability is fine compared to Armarouge, but this Pokemon is not comparable to Armarouge. It gives up a lot more prizes and is a higher evolution. And its attack is also not super good, because you look at it and, it's good to compare these to other cards. You can kind of compare this to, my immediate thought was Miraidon EX. Miraidon EX's attack, of course, does 224-3. It can't attack next turn. That's a downside, unlike maybe Venusaur EX's upside. That being said, like, I'd say Miraidon EX's attack is actually better because it is cheaper. But Venusaur EX also has Meganium. They're very different cards. Comparing them isn't amazing, but ultimately they are somewhat comparable. And Miraidon EX is not a particularly good attacker. It's not like terrible by any means. It's okay. But this card, if you look at it and you cover up the stage and the attack cost, it's super good, right? But that's not the case, right? That's not the case. And you look at Meganium EX, you need all these pieces. You need these evolution lines, you need these energies, which is to get on your board. And yeah, if you do all that stuff, you're super powerful. But if your opponent just I mean, it takes so long to get going. Realistically, your opponent can probably get in the way with boss pretty easily, but even if not, it's still a lot of resources. And then you have this like one-shotting 3-prize stage 2, which is like okay, I guess. I mean, that's good to one-shot things, but also, and you aren't tanky, but then you're gonna get knocked out, right? You'll get knocked out and then lose. You can be one-shotting your opponent's active every turn and still lose if you're playing a 3-prizer, right? And same thing with Mega Dragonite EX. I think Mega Dragonite EX is the card that I've heard people, I don't know. I don't think people have said it's like super good, but I think this card is very bad. Letting you switch every turn, as said, it's like objectively a little better than Lattice EX, but we've literally seen this ability. We literally have this ability in standard, and it's essentially irrelevant. And it is on a weak single prizer in terms of HP there, but like it's an okay card. I've actually played it. It's okay. But it like really doesn't see any play. I mean, I don't think most people even know it exists or what set it's in. By the way, it's in Paldean Fates. It's one of the rare Pokemon to be featured first in that set. And then the attack here, it's Water Lightning, Lightning 330, discard 2 from this Pokemon. Mega Manectric EX is essentially, it's not objectively better as an attacker, but it's like, it's better, right? It's going to be a pretty similar caliber card, which, by the way, when I talked about that card, I was like, this card, the upside's like fine, it's like a decent upside, but like the cost of the attack is too high. Yes, you can pay it with double electric, but double electric, that's 2 basics, 2 stage 1s. The basics don't have more than 60 HP. The stage 1s are, I was gonna say they're not easy to search. I mean, what stage 1s are, what, like Goldango or something, but it's hard to get them into play, kind of clunky, and then the payoff is decent. This card is worse than that. Mega Man X does 330 for 3, but they're not different types. Mega Dragonite EX does have a cool stage 1, in my opinion, with Dragonair, but ultimately, just pay attention to how the cards actually, how good the cards actually are compared to other cards that you kind of know how good they are. And really pay attention to stage. Basics are like by far the most important, and because they can get into play instantly, and on top of that, they're just less resources. They're just better, right? They're just better. Once you look at most of the top Pokemon in the game, most of them are basics. I mean, the main focuses are often evolutions. I mean, you look at the top 4 decks in the game right now, and they are. But these are also very powerful cards that you are focusing your deck around. But you're not like focusing every single piece in your deck on them. Look at Goldungo EX, and in addition to the evolution line, which is just a stage 1 compared to a stage 2, and Goldungo EX, it does also cover some of your engine stuff. You do have Genesect EX to search stuff out. And yeah, I mean, in terms of getting that, you also have Superior Energy Retrieval to get the energies, right? And I guess also Earthen Vessel, and you have draw, right? You have a lot of draw, but draw's good anyways. You want draw, and draw does help you do what you need to do in terms of damage, but it also helps you just set up. Draw's good. Then you look at Dragapult EX, you're like, well, it's 2 energy. 2 energy on a stage 2, honestly, is a good amount. But then you're like, oh, okay, well, we'll slow things down a little with Badoo. Then we'll just rely on Dracloak, and, well, Dracloak isn't an absurd card. It's a good card, giving you some extra card draw, giving you some like more passive advantage there, and then you just kind of sit there, sit back, develop your board, and you're not going for these crazy plays, but you're taking a slower approach, right? So you could do something like that with Mega Meganium EX, and kind of buy time, build time, build your hand, and your board. But you need something to do to like slow the game down to do that, and then you're not setting yourself up. And again, Dracloak kind of does help you set yourself up. You see the top decks, they're running an engine. Like, are all of them running an engine? Gardevoir EX isn't running an engine. Gardevoir EX, though, can still slow the game down. You're going to be using supporters to set yourself up and stuff like that. To be honest, I don't play that much Gardevoir. I don't see it that much either, surprisingly. But Charizard EX has Pidgeot EX, Goldungo EX has Goldungo EX, and Dragapult EX has Dracloak, among other things there. Mega Venusaur EX, you have Teal Sargopon EX, same thing with Mega Meganium EX, but that's like not really a draw engine. It just replaces the grass energies, which is like cool, I guess. But you need a lot of support for these cards, and the payoff is just decent. You compare Mega Meganium EX's payoff to Charizard or Dragapult EX or Goldungo EX or Gardevoir EX, or even weaker cards like look at Alakazam. Okay, no, that's not a good example. Mega Lopunny EX, let me do that one. I think that's a little better. Yes, Mega Meganium EX or Mega Dragonite EX, they're going to be stronger, but there's so much more commitment that it's just not worth it. Ultimately, I think this is something that's kind of obvious when you think about it. It's something that like people all know, I imagine, if you play the game. I mean, or if you like exist, something that's more expensive is, it needs to be better to be worth it, right? But it's something that people can kind of miss, especially with gut reactions. If you see a card doing, if a card did 5 million damage, that card isn't broken if it costs 5 million energy. Obviously, I'm like making up numbers here, but people would be like 5 million damage, that's crazy. But it's like not payable, so it's not good. Like Anthena, what's that card? Anthena and Concordia. Anthea and Concordia. This card, you take 3 extra prizes. Crazy. I've legitimately heard people say this card is good though. This card is not good. Like I heard someone say this card's good, but then they were like, "Yeah, I don't play the Pokemon TCG." So I don't think they knew what they were talking about. And this card's bad because it's like impossible to set up, right? This is a more extreme example, but it's definitely something you need to kind of take account in when you're looking at new cards. But tell me down below in the comment section if there are any examples of this that you know, or any examples of this that you think would have been good to mention in this video, or any examples that contradict this. But I hope you enjoyed. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell, all that good stuff. And as always, we said, see you in the next video.